Vast, largely uninhabited, and for a good part of the year frozen, Canada's north is often hard to get to and far too expensive for the average citizen. But for those who live there, its beauty, community, and traditions represent a unique way of life that can't be found anywhere else. This was my second trip to the Northwest Territories, and although I was busy gathering inspirational stories for 100 Huntley Street, I was also going to experience the north I most wanted to see, the remote, beautiful, and mostly fly-in-only communities near the Arctic Circle. My journey began in the scenic oil town of Norman Wells on the Mackenzie River, the most prosperous in what's called the Sawtooth region, one of 5 divisions in the Northwest Territories. With nearly 800 people, it was one of the few with a bank in town. We had only a few hours to explore before our ride arrived, a bush plane whose services had been donated by Ursus Aviation. I was looking forward to seeing the land from the air, but then our pilot Jason said words I thought I'd never hear.
You can, I'll let you drive a little bit if you'd like. Shh.
Are we gonna crash though? I don't want to die.
No crashing, no dying. I want to live too.
And he wasn't kidding. After a lesson that lasted only a few minutes, the lives of myself, the pilot, and our cameraman Chris were in my completely inexperienced hands. Clearly this pilot was crazy, but then so was I. After a tense 10 minutes, I handed back the controls and instantly saved all of our lives. Soon we were landing in another stunning remote community called Tulita, which means where the rivers meet in the Slavey language. It sits at the junction between the Great Bear and Mackenzie River. With a population of just over 500 and no roads in or out, many first-time visitors experience claustrophobia that sets in soon after arriving. That wasn't my experience, but it was a strange feeling to think the only way out besides flying was by boat in the summer and dangerous winter roads built on ice and snow in the winter.
Hi, my name is Lynn.
Our hosts for this part of the trip were the Burgers. Lynn and Sharon are northern missionaries who pastor the Pentecostal church in town. We came bearing gifts of fresh fruit, which is not only extremely expensive, but in short supply in these remote communities.
So I want to say Mussie on behalf of the Burger family.
And that is
That's in the Slavey language, thank you.
The Burgers are renowned in town not only for the amazing meals they cook, but also their warm hospitality. Lynn agreed to reveal to me his secret recipe for a local specialty, Arctic char. Someone had donated a small one for him to prepare.
And this is just a little one. And that, and I got you.
He challenged me to cut off the massive fish's head, but this city girl just couldn't quite do it.
No, real hard.
That was real hard.
The head of the delicacy, they eat it. What you do is you snip it, you cut it here, like John B. taught me, you cut it up in here, right along, and you flatten it out. And it literally flattens right out, and then you put it on the open fire, this way, and then you pick it clean, everything.
The eyeballs too?
Eyeballs. My daughter Emily popped an eyeball.
No.
Thankfully, today was not my day to eat the fish's head. So with some rice, onion, Hay River's famous back eddy spice, and olive oil, the fish was ready to go on to the Barbie.
Holy smokes, this is one heavy fish.
Let's go to the barbecue.
It took an hour and a half to cook the massive fish, but soon it was time to sample our hard work.
Okay, here we go. That is good though. That was really good. It doesn't even taste fishy. My favorite kind of fish. The non-fishy fish.
The Burgers wanted me to experience another highlight of life here, so they took me up the Great Bear River for some fishing. We passed Tulita's majestic Red Dog Mountain and boated up to Bennett Field, an area that's still contaminated from the uranium ore that passed through here from Port Radium in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Some of that very same uranium was used to build the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Hey, Gary, would Cheryl like this?
It was time to catch some fish.
Well, I know you're a more experienced fisherman than me. How many fish do you think you caught so far in your life?
Just say lots.
We'd barely put our lines in the water before Lynn was bringing one in. It didn't look that hard.
Okay, that was a kind of bad cast, but the cool thing about fishing here is that there's no worms, which makes me really happy. So we're fishing here for Arctic grayling. All right, are you proud of me? Here's the fish that I did not catch. We've got 6.
And that about summed up my first fishing experience in the north. Lots of work, but no reward, at least for me. Pretty much everyone else, even my cameraman Chris, caught something.
Sums it up.
Sarah, she's 13, she took initiative and she spiced it all up for us.
Before I left town, Lynn insisted I try another local delicacy, moose meat.
Give it a try. As you do that, it's a little spicy. You know, depending what spices you put on it.
Wow, that is really good. They taste a lot better than they look.
It was almost time to leave, but before I left, I decided to check out the local dump one more time for what people here commonly experience: bears. And we weren't disappointed. Although they are dangerous, these bears could hardly be bothered to look up from their snacks. We hopped a flight sponsored by North Right Airways to Delan, the only community on the shores of the 8th largest lake in the world, the Great Bear. Delan is only 100 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle, and its biggest draw is the fishing. The Great Bear Lake holds world records for lake trout and Arctic grayling. We were told you can't come to this town and not fish, so we gave it a try.
Hey, Morris.
Hi.
Thanks for agreeing to take us out today. Good to see you.
My pleasure.
Our guide Morris has fished here for most of his life. Even though it was the middle of July, the lake was so cold you had to seriously bundle up.
So how do you choose a spot? Like, how do you know? Like, why not just fish right out of town?
There's more fish and there'll be more biting, huh?
Okay, it's a heavily populated metropolis right here for fish.
See.
I got a good feeling about this area. My fish senses are tingling.
Well, Morris and I's fish sense must have been off because after our first hopeful strike, the fish just weren't biting.
Except for the fish. It's looking real good. So here we are at the end of another afternoon of fishing. We've been fishing now for 3.5 hours, and we got nothing. Zero, zilch. But there's a reason. Morris?
The ice just moved away, so the water's still cold for the fish to come in to feed on the shores. So it's too early yet, so that's why. Okay, good enough. That's good enough.
The middle of July and the ice has just finished melting. Well, despite our lack of success, much of the community here of 650 does live off the land, sharing their take of both hunting and fishing, as evidenced by the spoils displayed throughout town.
I have some lake trout.
Since we didn't catch anything, our new friend Pauline Roche cooked up some dried fish for us she was given by her cousin.
And what's in here?
That's tea.
Ah, and where do we get that water from?
The water comes from Great Bear Lake, and it's fresh water.
Yeah.
And you just go down there and get it in a dipper or in a pail. You just get water from there.
You just got water from the lake and it's safe to drink?
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's
In these small communities, not only does everyone know everyone, but families from many generations still live on the same land. The people here were some of the friendliest I'd met in the north, and my experiences with them will be forever etched in my mind.
Oh, and this is our dinner dry meat. That's moose meat.
Oh, yum.
I was halfway through my time in the north, and I couldn't wait for the adventures that awaited me next. Tomorrow on 100 Huntley Street, I take you up the Mackenzie River and finally make it past the Arctic Circle.
Okay, we're gonna put that on camera. Or that. That was a good one. That one you can put on camera.